Good afternoon, good morning, good evening, wherever in this great world you might be. My name is Jack Branch. I do this show most Tuesdays and Thursdays, depending on what's going on, and it's the Healthy Wealth Show. And why do I do this? It's to help people navigate through the valleys of life, whether it's in business, whether it's in your health, or your faith. And today I have a special guest that I'm really excited to shine some light in an area here in New Orleans where they're doing some very good work that needs to be taken a look at. You know, I had an experience when I went on a mission trip about, I guess it's been 10 to 12 years ago, where I was in Romania and I was in this community, and I asked the pastor, I go, is there anything I should know about this community? And he said, only that it's the largest sex trafficking community in the world. Wow. And I was really blown away by it, because he goes, do you want to see it? And I go, I really didn't want to see it. I think we all kind of know what's going on, but when you see it at firsthand, it really does something to your mind. And he took me down on the Black Sea, and I was able to see them loading these young women into a container to ship to Britain. And it messed with my head. As a man, as a father, it did something to me. And I'm not telling you that I've lived a perfect life. I'm not telling you I've not visited some of these establishments that Melissa's going to talk about here in a moment. But at that moment, it convicted me how we've taken something that was created for so good, which means intimacy with one another, and we've bastardized it somewhat and created this weirdness around it all. So today I'm really happy and excited to introduce a new friend of mine, someone I've met through the health coaching arena with our company Optavia, and that's Melissa Cavalier. How are you doing, girl?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm very well. You didn't know I was going to open up with that story.
I didn't. But you know what? I appreciate your transparency in sharing that, because I think that you hit the nail on the head, is that a lot of people know that it exists, but we get weird about talking about it. So I just appreciate you offering me the opportunity just to kind of talk about the subject and talk about how it's affecting our community as well.
Yeah, I interviewed a lady, one of the first couple episodes I did, who's a local sex therapist, and she's got a different view on it. But I think, like I said, we've taken this thing that was created for such depth and oneness and really fragmented it. Where do you think that I guess it started back in the garden, we could, agree. But when do you think it's really become, sex and just the weirdness of it all has been so sensationalized? And we're going to segment in a moment the token of love and what
Sure.
you guys do. But when do you all start to see that it really became more ramped up?
Well, and you'll have to forgive me, but I think it's probably was a little bit before my time. But, back in like the 60s and 70s, I think that a lot of people can attribute the big push in the feminist movement, the sex revolution, of, this liberation of women, and women can, do, whatever, be with whoever, and do whatever we want with our bodies. And it was a way, coming out of maybe, the 30s and 40s, trying to come out of oppression of, some women, didn't feel like they were equal. I think just as women, we come under this lie that, somehow our value, is somehow associated with how desirable we are. And if we can leverage that, then somehow we get power out of that. But I think out of that, you will see that almost kind of the opposite happens. When we try to provide value out of something that is so, like you said, intimate, it can be used as a weapon against us. So I think that you saw. Now, it's not to say that prostitution didn't happen. I mean, we've seen it, in biblical days. It's kind of one of the oldest known professions, oldest documented professions. But I think that for so long, people think that, it's been a victimless crime. A lot of times women do it because they want to, and it's because it's empowering to them. But it's just been quite the opposite with a lot of the women that I've worked with, that it's had quite the opposite effect. It's very oppressive.
So tell us about Token of Love and how that got started, how you got associated with them. Give the viewers a little background, because I put Melissa Cavalier Token of Love and preempted this with, just how really the whole sex trafficking, the pornography, just in your face. I mean, it's everywhere you turn. How did this come about?
Sure. So I've been in the church for a long time, and my husband and I have always looked for different ways to serve in the community. That's what drove us to do, marriage counseling. It's what drove us to do health coaching through Octavia. It was where we met. But one of the things that led me to this particular ministry, because it's not a ministry that you'll see like on bulletins in churches, it's kind of one of those things that you really have to be called to do this ministry. So in a previous position, in a previous sales position that I was in, and I'm about to get really real, but in a previous sales position, I worked for an organization, a small business. I worked for a business that I was a new sales rep, and I was under the wing of one of the head of sales within the company. And he really took a liking to me and was a mentor to me. And after a couple of months of me being there, things just got a little strange. Started noticing that he, was wanting to spend, abnormal amounts of time with me. And, at first I thought, maybe it's just because he really wants to see me successful in this business, and he's offering me a lot of really great advice. But then it just turned into something that was, went from saying little inappropriate things, to then physical contact. And then I was stuck in this predicament of not really knowing how to handle it. I had never been in that situation before, but I knew that I needed to work. I had children, and I had a husband and a family to support. So I was just in this conundrum of, do I continue to put up with this abuse for the sake of supporting my family? But ultimately, it took such a physical and emotional toll on me that I had to come clean. I came clean to my husband. And I came clean to the owner of the company, and eventually filed sexual assault charges against the perpetrator who had done this. But as I reflected on it, it really, God started to put in my heart of, there are other women out there who your story can help, who you can identify with. And so through that and me pursuing ministries in the church, I met Star Rooney, who is the founder of Token of Love Foundation. And so what we do as a small part of the ministry, as our outreach, is we go out into the city and we visit dance clubs, strip clubs, as well as massage parlors, just as a way to love on the women, to say, you know what, we're here for you, to love on you as women, we support you, and if there's any way that we can help, we're here to help. And so we'll go and we do, makeup and eyelashes. And when I go out into the East, we'll bring bags of goodies, and just we're there to love on them, to let them know that they were made for more, and pray with them and offer them support.
Wow.
When they choose to make the exit out of that lifestyle.
That must be like the lion's den.
It really, really is. And, my husband actually comes out with us in the East, and twofold. He drives us around, but he's also there as, I call him our muscle. I hope he's not watching. He might be mad at saying that. But because we're going into places where many people just
won't go.
Forgotten about, and they won't go.
Yeah.
But it means so much to these women, even just to get someone who's there not to judge, which I think is an important lesson for us just as Christians in the way that we interact with the unchurched, is that just us being there with a smile and to say, you know what?
There is a better way. There's a better
way. Yeah.
It's just hard to break out of that. Just like you were under the pressure of how do you get out. They're dealing with the same thing, and I know after I went on that trip, I mean, I'll be quite candid. I mean, a young man, I'd been, had some struggles in that arena and visited those areas. And after I came back, it was never the same. I actually saw if I went in, even though it wasn't ladies being put into containers in the Black Sea, I was indirectly supporting something with my wallet. And if I continued to be part of the problem, it just started to convict me. So now I don't even go in the quarter at night. I mean, that's just me. I don't put myself in that situation frequently. So therefore, I don't, so tell us about the work that Star is doing. Enough about that per se, but so y'all go into New Orleans, into Bourbon Street, into Lion's Den, and even the massage parlors. And what's the experience, or what? I mean, my first question is, A, how do people let you do that? Meaning the guys that run the business, but it sounds like it's well received, huh?
It is pretty well received. So with Token of Love specifically, we do what's called an Adorn outreach, and we do that on the first Tuesday of every month, and we partner with a club called Saints and Sinners, and believe it or not, the guy who owns the club is actually a believer, and it's just a bar that's in the French Quarter, and he lets us utilize the upstairs portion of it to invite girls to come get their lashes and their makeup done, and provides food, and just as a way for them to have a safe place to come and just to relax and have people love on them. So that is done through Token of Love, but we also partner with Free NOLA, and that is another nonprofit that a good friend of mine. I've known Diane for years. Diane Amos has been doing this ministry for going on a decade now. So we've partnered with her to do our outreaches in the East, as well as she does monthly outreaches to all of the clubs.
Don't they take flowers and stuff to the ladies? Yeah, I thought
it's the Rose Ministry.
Yeah.
So, and so Diane has done just so much work in that arena. And she's very well known for her advocacy, and what she offers, just as a way, her heart is really the same as ours, just to be able to go in and love on the girls and provide support, when their time comes. So that's what we do. And I'm more active in the New Orleans East outreach. So we're going into the clubs with with little gift bags and cards to just say, hey, we're here to pray for you. And should there ever be a need, that's when the Esther Elizabeth Scholarship Fund, and Token of Love steps up to say, just like I needed a way out, and I needed a helping hand. A lot of the women who you find dancing in the clubs, or in the massage parlors, they come from an economic disadvantage, meaning they may not have another option. They may not have been blessed with a good support system. So if we can address that tangible aspect of, if it's additional vocational training that you need, if it's support and guidance, maybe business coaching, if you have a dream of owning your own business, we're here to help with that piece. So when I came on to help with Token of Love, that was the piece that God specifically put on my heart to be able to address. It's, not just about providing counseling, which we do. We do provide life coaching and counseling to the women. It's not just about housing, but if we can't change the trajectory of where they've been and where they're going to go, then it continues to stay in that cycle. And another part of it, which I think that you kind of alluded to earlier, was we have the scholarship fund, but then also being able to see hearts changed in men in our community. So another thing that we started the latter part of last year was something called the Men of Valor initiative. And so it's just us simply partnering with local men in our community to be advocates and voices for a very real problem in our community. So whether they do that through video blogs like you do, or speaking out in the community, that's something that can help to address the heart problem and the demand problem. Because once, and I think that you probably would agree, but once a man's eyes opened to what it truly is, and you don't see it through the smoke and mirrors, it really just kind of tugs on your heart. And as a man, how God has created men to be protectors for those who are vulnerable and weaker, you can't help but not want to change that. So that's another thing that I oversee.
Yeah, and I love how you talked about how we came out of the 40s and 50s kind of a repressed female to freedom, through women's liberation, and obviously a lot of good things might have come out of that, but a lot of bad things did as well. And I believe that that men and the advent of pornography used to be, when you were a young kid, you'd flip through Playboy magazines. Well, now it's just one click away from whatever, and
oh, sure.
And it has created a fuel, if you will, for a lot of people, not just men, but women too, but probably more men. But it's created this fuel and this desire that I think is unhealthy. I mean, to a level where, it consumes you. And it's a growing problem. And, not even just in the secular world. I mean, amongst pastors, people,
sure.
it doesn't discriminate. And I think the thing is, you look at David, one of the most strong people that God says was a man after, his heart, but he killed a man and took his wife from him. And it really wasn't the first time that he looked. It was the second glance that set him up for failure. And I think that's the key, is you learn to train your eyes, and as a man and through this, Men of Valor thing, as you help these men. Have you ever seen this thing called I Am Second at all, where I think you ought to really look at that as maybe a way that guys, if they would, that's the real question. Will they step out and say, I once dealt with this and now I'm, it's a risky deal. It could put a lot on the table, but it could also get a lot of people free.
Yeah. No, I've watched a couple of their vlogs, and
it's strong. It's real strong when you see them taking, these big singers, a guy from Korn, or, a guy that started Blockbuster Video, or the list goes on and on. Soccer players, football players, and they admit to still having struggles, not necessarily in this arena, but whatever their poison is. So let's talk about this gala coming up on the 14th.
Yes. So the Purple Tie and Tiara Gala is an event that we have every year. This is actually going to be our fourth year doing the gala, and we're having it at the Southern Hotel this year in downtown Covington, which I'm super excited about. It's actually the first time that we've had them host the event for us. But I pass it every day, and it's just the most gorgeous venue. And the people there have been so great in helping us plan this. So I'm excited about the new venue. But it's going to be Friday, June 14th. And this is going to be the biggest fundraiser that we have all year for the Esther Elizabeth Scholarship Fund. Now, you'll remember that is the tool that we use to provide vocational training for the girls that we identify as good fits for the program. So we've partnered with North Shore Technical College and other businesses in the community who have stepped up and said, you know what, we'll do career days at our places of business. Do that. So it should be, bringing awareness in the community, having local business owners and members of the community come hear our story and our mission behind Token of Love, and just to have a good time, have good food, listen to live music. There's going to be a silent auction, so it's going to be a great time.
I put the stuff up on the screen. I also want to, shine light on the website. That's the Token of Love Foundation, tokenoflove.org. It'll tell you a lot about, STAR and make sure I have that shared. Do I? Let's see. There we go. So I'm showing them now the website, talking a little bit about, Token of Love, the programs, the Men of Valor, the sponsors, different gallery. You could go check this out at tokenoflove.org. But what do you need most? I mean, you obviously need people to show up. So what else are you in need of? I mean, obviously money to help support these women. I mean, trying to get off the streets, if you will, and moving into, kind of a newfound freedom, a newfound way of living, right? Which is very challenging, I'm sure, because if you've made a lot of money, I always say this, if a guy that has sold drugs comes out of jail and he's been used to getting a lot of money, we got to make sure that we teach him some skills that are going to, and I think y'all are in the same boat somewhat, right? That's why this fund and Elizabeth, Esther Elizabeth Fund was created, correct?
Correct. So, and you said it exactly right. Most of the time people will go to the path of least resistance. And even though it could be a path of pain for a lot of women, if they just don't have the resources to be able to create a new way, they'll keep getting sucked back right into the same lifestyle. So what we do is we partner with local businesses and schools to be able to provide that to them, along with our life coaching and other programs that we have. But so the gala is meant to support that, and as well as to just get interest in the community as to what we're doing and how they can get involved. So what we need most right now is sponsors, business sponsors, whether you're a small business or a local corporation, sponsors for the gala. And we're also looking for event ambassadors. So you may not own a business and you may not be in a position to sponsor a table, but if you can grab, 5, 10 of your friends and say, hey, look, there's this mission in Covington that is looking to help, local women in need. Let's go and, enjoy dinner and some music. And, help us to get the word out and help with the sale of tickets for the event. That's another awesome way to get involved as well.
Well, we met at the local health coaching thing, and actually before that you had reached out to me, and I tell you, it's great work you're doing, and it's tugging at me a little bit to think about either in that Men of Valor or in this event coming up. So I encourage you, if you have a business, even if you don't have a business, and it tugs on your heart that you really want to have women get set free from the world of pornography, from sex trafficking, from, all these things that distort the view of women in our society, then get involved. Now, some of you may be struggling with it right now. You may have been in Bourbon Street, last weekend. You say, no big deal. And look, I'm not here to shame you or, say you're worse off than any of us all because we think stupid stuff all the time. But I am challenging you to start thinking different. And this is a great way to get involved and, support something in our community that obviously is doing a great deed. What do you want people to know? What's your final takeaway that you want people to not only go and sign up for this, either sponsorship or a table, but what do you really want people to take action on around Token of Love? Or this message?
Sure. So honestly, where we see the biggest heart change is just knowledge. Knowledge is power for a lot of folks. And, when I talk about this subject, it's just they're living in the community that we live in the St. Tammany community. Lots of people are still under the disillusion that, those types of things don't go on here. Those happened in bigger cities, maybe
Las Vegas or
Chicago or, happens in California, but not here. And I would challenge your thinking that maybe some people think it only happens in New Orleans or Baton Rouge. But the statistics are just not there. So, you know, when I was doing some promotion for our gala last year, and then the statistics on this could have changed, hopefully for the better, but maybe for the worse. But in terms of just Louisiana alone, St. Tammany Parish is the 5th largest affected parish for sex trafficking. Now that whether that's minors or, you know, adult women, but it's a problem, and it's here in our community. It affects our foster care system. It affects young children, what they're being exposed to on social media, and the way that that these traffickers have access to our children. But it's a growing problem, and so it needs further exploration and information gathering on just us as a whole, as a community, to be able to then go out and change the trajectory of how it's affecting us as a community.
That's good. You know, if I take off these glasses, I can't see real good.
Right.
But if I put them on, I can see clearly. And I think that's all Melissa's asking you to do is, if you're living in this, you know, what I call, you know, just the protected area of St. Tammany, and you think everything's okay, not in my backyard. It's going on right here.
Sure.
And so just come on the 15th. Get involved. There's
Instagram, Facebook. We share a lot of just good information about what's happening here in our local community as it pertains to this subject on our social media sites. And so, of course, sometimes we may share some information, you know, coming from the news that's not the most uplifting thing that you want to read. But the point is that it's happening and it's here. And so, with that information, what are you going to do about it? And so we hope that people will partner with us to make a change for the greater good.
Melissa, I appreciate your time.
Oh, I so appreciate you having me on, Jack. It means a lot. Well,
and again, I hope you guys got something out of this. And if you didn't, you need to watch it again. And get involved the 14th of June. I keep saying 15th. 14th of June at the Southern Hotel. And I will post below a copy of the piece so you can go to the website, check it out, and definitely get yourself aware. And if you have a young daughter or a daughter of any type, you need to be informed about what is going on in our world. It's not just dandelions and roses going on. There's a lot.
And also your sons.
Say that again?
And also your sons. I mean, it's a good subject to have with children.
In general, it is. So get involved, get educated, and become aware, and then you'll see things through a different perspective. Thanks again, Melissa.
You're awesome, Jack. Thank you.
Thank you.